Hey everybody, I'm back with another movie spoiler review. And today I'll be covering Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Excuse me. I just covered Zombie Island on the stream, so you can check that out. By this point, it should be on YouTube channel. Follow me in the links in the description below. Like and subscribe. And yeah, man. Like before, I thoroughly enjoy Witch's Ghost. I think Zombie Island is still one of the best Scooby-Doo films of all time, but Witch's Ghost is a very close second. Once again, great animation, great uh, voice actors, and our introduction to the iconic characters, the Hex Girls, who also help facilitate the awesome soundtrack to this film, which we don't get any more of that from Scooby-Doo films moving forward after this. But we get returning characters, we get returning voice actors for Scott Ians as Scooby-Doo, Frank Walker as Fred, Mary Kay Bergman as Daphne, B.J. Ward as Velma, uh, and where's pretty sure the same guy who voiced Shaggy in the last one. Billy West, maybe, but he doesn't show as being credited here. But anyway, uh, Scooby and the gang, uh, uh, once again, we hopping right into them trying to solve the mystery of two guys trying to, scare away this museum curator kind of guy. But we get the introduction to this character named Ben Ravencroft, and of course, even as a kid, we are like, clearly he's the bad guy. Also, the fact that he's voiced by Tim Curry, I was like, he did it. As I know, it kind of sucks the fun out of the mystery, but it's always been kind of a cliche thing on some mystery type of films. Not all, but if you're, got mostly the same people working on a project as before, and then you're introducing some new character played by an iconic actor, it kind of sucks the fun of the mystery out of it if you're casting a high profile actor. Now, the Knives Out kind of films kind of offset that, because normally these kind of films cast a variety of high profile actors, so therefore you're less likely to guess who it is. I think that's a healthy balance to that cliche, because now you can't just easily guess that. But that is so cliche, and as a person who likes mysteries, it kind of sucks the fun out of it if you can just easily guess it. But anyway, Ben Ravencroft is this high profile, mystery writer, kind of like the Stephen King of the Scooby-Doo world. And of course, Velma is very smitten and fangirling out. And once again, as I've stated in a previous review, whatever happened to Bo that you were so into, who you had this instant connection with, because you both like, mystery books and stuff like that. Never brought that guy up ever again, which is a shame. But Ben Ravencroft looking towards the Mystery Inc. to help him find this sought after book belonging to one of his ancestors. He invites them to Massachusetts, which is always been like the haven for like Salem, Massachusetts, very knee deep in where like the witch trials and witch burnings and stuff like that, that was heavy during like the 1500s, where anytime a woman's doing something out of the ordinary, they just instantly being labeled as a witch and burnt alive more than one occasion, which is a shame, because it's not right all across the board. And I say most of the women that was probably murdered by those Puritans probably weren't witches. But I think there's gotta be at least some sliver of women that, at the very least, practicing witchcraft, not like full blown evil witch, but at the very least practicing witchcraft. I mean, odds are that would have been a thing. I believe in those kind of things personally. I believe there are witches in the world, warlocks, vampires, werewolves, definitely ghosts, demons. Like, they're a thing. I legit believe they are a thing, and there's been many accounts they are a thing. At least, definitely witches and ghosts and demons definitely been proven to be a thing. It just ain't so prominent out there in the world. Like, so they're not just so in your face about it. Anyway, of course, Ben is a little bothered by the fact that his hometown in Massachusetts, which I wouldn't mind visiting Massachusetts, because I know around the fall is gonna be like stupid heavy with a lot of Halloween iconography, and a lot of people go there to see the leaf change. But it's gonna be like Halloween party heaven for a lot of people, and it would be dope to visit there one time for like the Halloween season, because I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday of all time, and Christmas is just narrowly like tied. Is so close to being my favorite holidays of all time. But man, I love the fall season. I love the Halloween season. I can live in it. If I had the choice, I can just live in that. Honestly, from the middle of September all the way, I gotta say, maybe September 1st all the way to January 2nd. That is like my favorite time of the year. Just to live in that particular set of holidays. I can just live in that, and it's from that to that. And it's like, because that's where I usually go out to do all these festivities and get involved in all these kind of fun stuff. That's where I thrive. Other than that, I'm hibernating for the rest of the my social battery is just like geared towards those, and everything else outside of those holidays, like for the spring or summer, I'm just in the house. I rarely go out like that. I'm a bit of a homebody. But when Halloween and Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year starts rolling around, that's where I usually am out. That's my fun time, personally. Anyway, but then the townsfolk and the mayor points out that they kind of capitalize off Ben's ancestor being this big time witch in her day, where she was, burned at the stake for being a witch, which Ben is adamant on the fact that she was a Wiccan, which is kind of like a good witch, and was unjustly persecuted at that time. And he's bothered by the fact that the townsfolk are capitalizing on his ancestor and the bad reputation. And then, of course, they get Scooby and the Games getting attacked by this witch, which is seemingly Ben's ancestor, lobbing like fireballs and stuff like that. But then they bump into the icons the iconic goth girls, the Hex girls, wearing vampire fangs though, vampire fangs, but you're witches. Gotta pick a lane, ladies. But it's the local rock band that's being hired to play at this festival. And I gotta say, these girls have like immediately cemented themselves as one of the iconic looks for Halloween. And many girls dressed as the Hex girls, especially in like a group setting, especially a group of three, because witches always typically comes in threes, to be like a solid coven. Bare minimum, you have to have three witches to be a coven. And honestly, they're like so dope. And I love me a goth girl. I do. Hot goth girl is my kink, my weakness. I grew up loving that type of look for a woman. And of course, Scooby and Shaggy are frightened immediately, not realizing they're just playing up an act. But through some thorough investigation, Velma's kind of like piecing some stuff together. And of course, Velma is a great detective, but so is like the others. Not probably to the same degree as Velma, because she's very intuitive, or very much of an intellectual. But there's been times where Fred, some cases Daphne and Shaggy come across clues and start piecing certain things together from the old cartoons. They put in the work too. It isn't just Velma who has the brains here. Of course, she has the brains, but they help too. That's probably my biggest issue from time to time, where it's like they kind of like lean on Velma as a crutch in a way. Scooby come across this seemingly belt buckle, which assumed to be part of a pilgrim hat. But upon investigation, they come to realize that some of the townsfolk have been behind this appearance of this mysterious witch, which is all fake and everything like that. So, and then one of the townsfolk, this local doctor, is the Hex Girl leader, Thorn. That's her father. And they come to realize that Thorn is 1/16th witch, or Wiccan. But then Velma realized that the buckle that Shaggy and Scooby found isn't from a pilgrim hat. It's part of Sarah Ravencroft's, book that Ben has like a picture of her, like a painting of her holding like this book with like a buckle strap that matches what Scooby found. And Scooby digs up the area where he found the buckle, and of course Ben, realizing that he assumed his ancestor was buried in a particular tree, but he digged in the wrong place, because the place where she would have been buried, the particular tree, I believe it might have been an oak tree, have long since been cut down. That's why he looked in the wrong place, because the place he should have been looked at has long since been cut down. And they dig out and found the book that he believes would have been the one to prove her innocence. But the way it's been designed is a little creepy. And that's where, surprise, surprise, Ben shown his true colors. And it's like, no, she wasn't Wiccan. She was a real witch. And so using his, the book helped him unearth his warlock powers. Given the fact that he's related to Sarah Ravencroft, he would have been considered a warlock. So he released his ancestor from her imprisonment, because he was imprisoned by, her spirit was imprisoned by the local Wiccans at that time, who turned against her. Now that she's free, she wants to seek revenge uh, on people because of her imprisonment. But he wants to rule. So she is like, no, I'm not ruling crap. And so she imprisons him in like uh, uh, a sphere. And she starts turning pumpkins alive and trees alive, and turns this turkey into a giant turkey creature. And they're all going after the Hex girls, the townsfolk that's there, at least a couple of townsfolk that's there, and Scooby and the gang. Then Velma realized, okay, we need to keep the book away from her, but in order to seal her up again, we need the power of a Wiccan. And coincidentally, Thorn is part Wiccan, at least 1/16 of it, but still counts. And then they, it's kind of fun to see like the gang pretty much playing hot potato with this book, trying to keep it out of Sarah's hands. And I gotta say, the voice actress for Sarah, I'm not real much a fan of. I don't know what it is. It's just, I don't know. The voice doesn't seem like it matches, in my opinion. But I do get like a funny moment. I wrote down my notes here because there was a funny moment where Scooby and Shaggy's trying to think like, oh, she's a witch. And they threw water on her, and just the facial expression that she had, like, what did you think that was going to do? And Shaggy's like, I thought it was going to melt you. I thought because trying to do the whole Wizard of Oz thing, another iconic witch history in pop culture. And it's like, I laughed out loud. That was so freaking funny. It's just the fact that her facial expression kind of sold it, because like, what was that? That was pretty funny. And also, I want to point out this little fact that behind the scenes, the writers of this film didn't really want to have like a legit supernatural element to the film. They had a completely different story. But the studio, because after the success of Zombie Island, they want to make sure, okay, you got to have a legit supernatural element in this one. And I can see why they prefer to like just stick with like what worked before, with just making like a regular, because like the ending would have been just the townsfolk making up this witch thing. But the hand was forced to tack on a legit witch in this, which is rare, but I side with the studio's decision on this, because I think it was a smart play to, if at least at the time when you're making these animated Scooby-Doo films, which was like literally a year apart, I think they should had spaced these out a little bit more. So that way, these movies could just be like them dealing with actual legit supernatural threats, while the TV shows dealing with like just people in costumes. Couldn't hurt. Or at the very least, the movies can do the combination of the two. But yeah, like I would have preferred actually dealing with some legit supernatural threat here. So they pretty much playing hot potato with this book, and eventually it gone to Thorn, and Velma's telling like, read the incantation in the book to seal up Sarah. She did. Sarah gets dragged back in the book, but she grabs hold of Ben, and horrifically he gets dragged into the book along with her, as one of the branches of a burning tree falls on it and burns away the book. So it's like, wow. These first two Scooby-Doo animated films has a huge body count that we kind of, as kids, kind of gloss over, But as you grow up and you rewatch these, like, oh my God, there's some legit death in these Scooby-Doo films. Like, holy crap. Uh, but that's the end of that threat. Thorn and the Hex Girls uh, continue on with the festivities, singing their iconic songs. And the day is saved, and that's where the movie ends. So yeah, I mean, like Scooby-Doo and Witches Ghost was fun. As a kid, I didn't like. I liked it, but didn't really appreciate it all that much as I probably should have, as compared to Zombie Island. But over time, it's like, yeah, Witches Ghost has like a place in my heart. And it's because it introduced, honestly, one of the most iconic, characters in pop culture, the Hex Girls. So, Witches Ghost has a place in our hearts in terms of a movie to watch for Halloween. One of the most popular films to watch around Halloween. But yeah, but that was the Witch's Ghost. Stay tuned as I then cover, to wrap up this week's Halloween movie review, will be Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. And I'll give my overall thoughts on that one in a little bit. But please, let me know in the comments below to let me know what you think of the Witch's Ghost, and what worked for you, what did not work for you in terms of this film. And I'll see you all soon. Take care.